Hello and welcome back. I'm Nicole, a cottage witch, and today I'm doing a bit of a book haul video and one deck for February and March. I didn't do one in February because I got all of one book, which was good, but I did maybe go a tiny bit overboard in March, but they're almost all secondhand except for a couple, so that's my justification. Because when you find a book these days for $7, nobody sells books for $5 anymore. That's not a thing that happens. So the deck I got is the Banned Books Tarot. Oops, a bit shiny. It's good fun. It's very colorful, which is a good time. And I've read a lot of these books, not quite all of them, but a lot of them. And the books I picked for certain cards do work, as far as the ones I've read go. I haven't read quite all of them, and they do repeat books, which I think I didn't know when I got it, and is a bit lazy because there are just so many banned books, not just in North America but around the world, that it's not at all necessary to repeat them. In a 78 card deck, you can easily find books of a list of books well over 78, but like that works. So I don't mind it. I don't mind the choices they made. I just wish they hadn't repeated. It is very fun and colorful though. It's just, I don't know, it's like a children's illustration style, like a kid's book sort of thing, which is fun. And yeah, so that's a bit of fun. That seems a bit timely given the increase in book bans in certain areas. Then at a used bookstore, I got I don't know how to say this, Ada or Ardar is the title, Vladimir Nabokov's book, which is one of his greatest masterpieces apparently. A love story, a fairy tale, epic, philosophical treatise on the nature of time, parody of the history of the novel, and erotic catalog. So that seems to be a lot of things. It seems to be very many things, and I love his writing. I've got to reread Lolita because it's been a long time since I've read that, but I liked Bend Sinister as well and Pale Fire. His writing is so good. He really had mastered the use of the English language, I think. So yeah, looking forward to reading more of his books. I don't know why I didn't for a while there, but A Family Chronicle, apparently. Okay, so that's that. And then I went to a couple bookish events this month, with the authors publishing new books. So one was with Omar Al-Akkad, One Day Everyone Will Have Always Been Against This. The title is based on a tweet he wrote, and the book is about his observations during the Gaza genocide and just how astonishingly depressing it has been to watch the people who could stop it not care to stop it, and in fact continue to arm people who are carrying it out. And I think they estimate now that it's 27,000 kids who've been killed, which is that's absolute madness. I can't wrap my head around that one. It's heartbreaking. And you see, parents trying to feed their kids or play with their kids in just concrete piles of rubble, and it's heartbreaking. Nobody should have to live like that, and a lot of people haven't survived, and it's just devastating to watch. So this is he's a journalist who, I think he lives in the US now, but he's worked a lot in Canada, so he's quite well known here. And he's written a couple of novels before as well. And yeah, so I'm looking forward and not looking forward to this book because I feel like it will be impossible pretty well not to cry while reading that one. In more cheerful news, there are a couple of gardeners in town where I live who publish the Prairie Gardeners Go-To series, which is a series of books. They've got one on vegetables, pests and diseases, seeds, I should get that one, small spaces, soil, I have that one, trees and shrubs, fruit. The one they just published this spring was indoor gardening, with tropical plants and things like that. And it's a Q&A style book, so it's really easy to read. So it's just the questions they get asked most on any given topic. Oh, there we go. can you compost parts of poisonous plants? Using manure, you know, like amendments to soil, mushroom compost, just all sorts of the most common questions that get asked constantly. Testing soil food web, all sorts. So this one's about soil. I have the ones on grasses and something, pests, I think. And they're really easy to read and really accessible and good fun. And then I got, well, it was at the event was in a bookstore near me. So I got Botany for Gardeners, an introduction to the science of plants, because I am a geek. As you know, if you've watched probably any of my videos before. And so this answers questions like, what happens inside a seed after it's planted? How are plants structured? How do plants reproduce? Just all sorts of basic botany of plants, cold hardening, nutrient needs, how photosynthesis works, leaf pigments. Cool. I always wondered what made leaves turn different colors. Mature plant, you know, like different parts of the plants. Other features of wood, food storage, and structures in the embryo, wall structure and cell growth. It sounds so cool. Oh, here's a bookmark with more of these go-to gardening ones. Yeah, they've got a bunch of them. Small spaces, herbs. I forgot the one on herbs. It's a really good little series and very easy to read. And the last book that I got that is new, I think, is Mill Dust and Dreaming Bread. This is the first book I've ever gotten on Kickstarter. I've gotten some decks on Kickstarter before, but never a book before. And so this is about Scottish, what's the subtitle? Exploring Scottish folk belief and folk magic. And what I've found in the last year or two is that finding like Irish folk tales and folklore about plants and things is pretty easy. I mean, not as easy maybe as I'd like it to be, but relatively easy. Scottish folklore, much harder to find. So this is a journey through the landscapes, legends, and lore of Scotland. Folk belief and magic uncovers the enduring connections between land, community, and spirit, rooted in the ancestral traditions of Scotland, from animistic practices and seasonal celebrations to the struggles of resilience against suppression, etc., marginalized cultural heritage, etc. It sounds fun. It sounds, now I haven't read it yet, but it sounds like it's quite thoroughly researched. So he is I think a historian or something in Scotland, and he's very interested in folklore, and this is not a little book, but it's beautifully produced. It's independent, but it's got one of these little ribbon things, and it's just like the production quality of this book as an independent. Sometimes independent books are just like people will print them on Amazon or whatever. This is really well done. Yeah, really looking forward to it. Whoops, this one. And I think he said, now I might be imagining this, but I'm pretty sure he said something about an audiobook edition coming out at some point, but I don't know any kind of timeline for that. So that would be cool. Okay, and then I have a stack of poetry related books. So I've been on a poetry kick for the last month or so. I got this was at the same used bookstore, Lyrical Ballads by Coleridge and Wordsworth. This is the book they published together. I read the Prelude this month, which was by Wordsworth. It's his like poetic memoir, basically, which was beautiful. This is not that. This is a collection of poetry by one and then the other. It's very marked up. Somebody marked up this, circled all there. I assume favorite ones or ones for work or whatever. So it's got things like The Rime of the Ancient Mariner in it, but then it's got a bunch of other poems that I haven't read. Yeah, tons of them. And then appendices with, it looks like various people's prefaces to the books over time, because it was originally published in 1798, and then different letters, correspondence about the book, which I may or may not read, commentary by both poets, which I may or may not read, and then commentaries by other people, which I might read. I don't know, we'll see. Verse commentaries, yeah, so some of those I might not read. The poems I'll read, of course. That's why I got it. But yeah, we'll see. And then, oh yeah, this one actually, I found a used copy after I went to the event with Omar Al-Kad, and he talked about this book. So this is a book of poetry by Layli Long Soldier called Whereas. And as I understand it, there was some sort of court case or other in the States somewhere that found, hang on, what was it about? I can't find it now. The premise is, though, that this is a response to some sort of court case. You know how they all start with the various premises, whereas this being the case and that being the case and this, that, and the other. I'll have to look what it was. Anyway, there was some court ruling that was not very people-friendly or land-friendly or something like that, which is not very surprising. And so this is, I think she's indigenous to, lives in New Mexico. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. And then I got Rubaiyat for the Time of Apricots, poems by Basma Kavanagh. This is, so Rubaiyat is a type of, I think, Iranian poetry or Arabic poetry. I can't quite remember, must be Arabic. And this is sort of a modern response to some of these. He's got quotes by Joy Harjo, who I've got to read, Mahmoud Darwish, who I love, in the beginning. And then it just, I read a few of the poems in the store and thought, yeah, okay, it sounds interesting. Does it have any, oh, she lives in Nova Scotia now. Okay, cool. Poet and visual artist, spends time outdoors. Doesn't really say what the premise of the book is about, but I wish they, like, this is not a helpful inside flap. I need more information, but I did read a few of them and I enjoyed them, so. Okay, and then I went online, so Thrift Books, and there's a, what's it called? A WO something, Canada. I can't remember. Anyway, I found some secondhand books, and some of them were actually ordered in February. They took a while to get here because, you know, secondhand, whatever. This is Romantics, Rebels, and Reactionaries, English Literature and its Background, 1760 to 1830. So this is English literature at the time of the Romantic poets. Also, Jane Austen and Walter Scott were the novelists writing at the time. It is a funny period in time because, whoops, this spine is falling apart. I need to re-glue that, apparently. Good. Whoops. But anyway, so like the Victorian era is just named after Victoria, obviously, and can refer to either poets or novelists or any other artists producing work at the time. The Romantic era refers specifically to these particular types of poets working at the time. Doesn't really include other poets, doesn't really include novels. And so this sort of looks at both, and I will put that book aside and fix the binding before I do anything crazy. Book of Rhymes, The Poetics of Hip Hop by Adam Bradley. So, okay, so I was reading, what was I reading? British Romantic Poetry, the Cambridge Companion. And it seemed a lot like the rhythm, so my two cents is that the only poets doing anything interesting with rhythm and meter and rhyme today are rappers. Because poets have kind of chucked all that out the window, thinking of it as too constraining or something. I don't know. I don't really get it, but anyway. So I was reading another book and thought that hip-hop sounded a lot like Beowulf, and then I read this, which was very vindicating. So while rap may be new school music, it is old school poetry. Rather than resembling the dominant contemporary form of free verse, or even the free-form structure of its hip-hop cousin spoken word or slam poetry, rap bears a stronger affinity to some of poetry's oldest forms, such as the strong stress meter of Beowulf and the ballad stanzas of the bardic past. As in metrical verse, the lengths of rap's lines are governed by established rhythms, in rap's case, the rhythm of the beat itself. So in ballads, it's not always stress syllabic, like syllables aren't always counted, but the stresses are counted because it's music originally. So yeah, it seems to have a lot in common. And this is written by a professor of English at the University of Colorado Boulder. So that's fun. I will be reading that this month. And then I went a tiny bit overboard on a couple of Cambridge companions because I am slightly obsessed now. In my defense, a couple of them were like $9 or something, which they're usually $40. This is Canadian money. It's less than that in American, but still, they're not the cheapest of all books when you buy them new. But if you can find them secondhand, I mean, some new ones are like $200, which, nope, that's not happening. So I got one called The Sonnet, because that is one of my favorite poetry forms. If they had one on the ballad, I might get that too, which is good fun. So, you know, contemporary poets in the sonnet and lyric mode, English sonnet, European beginnings, love sonnets, Shakespeare sonnets, sacred, religious sonnets, Milton to the Romantics, Victorian sonnet, modern sonnet, contemporary sonnet. So just sonnet through time, because I am a geek, as we've established. And then I got the Wordsworth one. I think I've ordered the Coleridge and Byron ones too, because they were also pretty cheap. There are a couple others that I was interested in that were $40 or something, which I just, no, not at the moment. But this is all Wordsworth, which is fun. I do like his poetry, even if he got a little, he and Coleridge seem to have gotten more conservative in their old age. The next generation of Byron and Shelley didn't end up making it to old age, so nobody knows what would have happened there. But anyway, so there's one on the lyric ballads. There's one on the prelude, his craft, gender and domesticity, philosophy, his relationship with Coleridge, the natural world, politics and history, Wordsworth in America. Okay, interesting. Further reading, which is always so dangerous, which is how I've heard of some of these books. Very dangerous. And then the last one is Emily Dickinson. Well, the last Cambridge Companion. I've got 2 other books here. Because I read Dickinson in university, and there's something about her use of dashes constantly that's just, I find visually annoying. It's not my favorite. I look at a poem and that's all I can see at first is all the dashes. So I didn't read a lot of it then, and then this year sometime, I found some audiobooks of some of her poems and loved them. The verdict is the content of her poetry I like, but actually reading them because of all the dashes, my eyes go a little cross-eyed or something. I don't know, it's weird. And her life is intriguing because she was very much a hermit, which I can relate to. Yeah, Emily Dickinson Wars. I assume that's about the publication of her material after she passed at the American South. Susan, that must be her sister. Poetic strategy, existential dramas, gender, being in the body. The Gothic. Okay, Emily Dickinson and the Gothic. That'll be interesting. Popular culture, class, and American women poet peers. So that is that one, and that will be a good time. And then I got this, I think was in the back of Stephen Fry's book. This is the Norton Introduction to Poetry. Yes, it's a university textbook. I'm not sorry about it. So basically, there are some like introductions to different sections and then just a whole bunch of poems. So reading, responding, and writing, understanding the text, tone, speaker, setting and situation, language, sounds, internal structure, external form, the whole text, contents, and then just different traditions in history and whatnot, process of creation. Whoops. So let's see. So it's sort of textbooky in that it gives you a bit of an explanation of what they're talking about, and then there are some examples, more discussion, more examples. The whole book is like that, like discussion, examples, I'm okay with that. So that's nice and geeky as well. And then the last one I got was also definitely in Stephen Fry's like further reading or whatever, which is Timothy Steele's All the Fun's in How You Say a Thing, an explanation of meter and versification. So this sounds fun. He's a professor of English in California. This sounds actually quite a lot like Stephen Fry's book in that it goes over different ways to use meter and rhyme and stanza and whatnot to communicate things, and it's yeah, it's a little bit it's a little discolored. I don't know what happened there. I used some alcohol wipes to like make me feel better about sanitization. But anyway, this should be fun and nice and geeky. It does have some examples, but it's mostly discussion, this one. So now I have a nice little library of books on poetry whenever I feel like getting into that. So that's fun. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.